You've been muted. To unmute yourself,
trouble hearing. There we go. They should be able to hear now.
County executive proposes and releases the proposed budget at the end of February. There's then several months of comment period and back and forth before the final adoption of the budget in May. So we're at the beginning of that process now, in the budget development side. Allison, I am. Not able to. From our standpoint with the Park Authority, we just had our Park Authority board meeting on August 27th, where we presented these proposed, again, non-recommended budget cuts. That'll be followed by a public comment period at our next board meeting on September 10th, and followed by endorsement of the budget reduction and requests September 24th, which then again leads into the county's process over the next number of months. The FCPA general fund budget cut reduction target for FY27 is $1.8 million. That represents 5% of our general fund budget. That is what every agency was assigned, a 5% reduction to put forward. This is based off the budget forecast, another challenging picture that we're looking at in FY27. The difference with this year is that we are expecting what is put forward will be included in the proposed budget by the county executive in February that's released. So some years we are asked to give a bigger number. I'm going to give an example, like a 10% reduction, and then ultimately maybe only 5% is put forward. This year we are going in expecting that what we put forward will be put into the proposed budget and then worked through over the next several months. So each agency's been given a 5% reduction target. With that said, jumping into our proposed reductions, non-recommended reductions, we've got all non-athletic field mowing with a reduction of $130,000. This is a reduction in acres of regularly mowed parkland. some conversion of mowed space to non-mow space, and reduced service levels, basically taking something that's mowed every 7 days and looking at shifting that to a 14-day mow period. So that reduction amount is again $130,000. Athletic field mowing. This is a reduction amount of $446,000. This is really two options for consideration, or multiple potential options for the county to consider with athletic field mowing. One, offsetting that full athletic field mowing with an increase to the athletic services fee, so that the mowing amount is covered by an increase to the athletic services fee, or looking at some variation of that, reducing the mowing from 2 times a week to 1 time a week, so some increase of the athletic services fee with some reduction in the mowing service. So again, that reduction amount, $446,000. Parking fees at select park locations. So today we have out-of-county fees at one park location charged, Burke Lake Park. This is looking at introducing parking fees on weekends and holidays between April and October at parks that have an existing infrastructure. So this would be Burke Lake and Riverbend as the 2 locations that we would introduce parking fees. You can see the proposed fee that we have here, an in-county fee and out-of-county fee. Again, today at Burke Lake, we charge a $12 out-of-county fee on weekends and holidays. But this would introduce a fee for in-county residents as well. Any revenue that was earned beyond the $200,000 would be directed to be used for the site where that fee is charged. And the 2 locations, Burke Lake and Riverbend, again, are chosen based off the existing infrastructure of having a gate set up already in place. We would look at this if the county continues to have budget challenges in the future, of this being a potential area that we would look at expanding in the future. Additional locations needed to come online. Again, these were chosen based off the existing infrastructure. Last year, we had put forward the Park Foundation reduction of $300,000. $150,000 of that was taken in the FY25. I'm sorry, in the FY26 budget. This would be continuing and finishing that reduction for another $150,000. We won't talk in great detail about this, but part of the reduction is $550,000 towards a reduction of positions and the associated benefits. County has prescribed process for budget reductions associated with positions. That is not a public one, so we would not be discussing that in these meetings. They would come up in the future county executives' release of the proposed budget. And another area here, increased WPFO to bond, $338,000. This is charging additional staff to our bond projects. This basically has the impact of increasing our project spend, which is then losing some dollars towards individual projects. So as we look at our total here, adding everything up, we hit the 5%, $1.8 million target associated with the non-recommended general fund budget cut reductions. This is all posted online, I believe, Allison, at this point, as part of our board package from August 27th. So you are able to see that. I'm also going to go through, it's kind of a interesting thing. At the same time that we're putting forward reductions, we are also putting forward requests. Requests are more limited this year. There's certain buckets that we're able to request in, but no new programs, for example, is the guidance that we get. So it's tailored to 3 different areas for the requests that we can make. The first one that you see here, zero waste, trash, and recycling. The request being $1.2 million. We have received, the Park Authority's received funding in previous phases for the zero waste, trash, and recycling, including both equipment and personnel. You can see here in FY24, $500,000 in capital, another $545,000 in personnel. That was to get 2 area locations up and running with the zero waste program. FY25 here in phase 2, carryover package through the county will be approved at the end of September. So pending approval, we will get additional $1.4 million in capital for all the equipment for the remaining 4 area locations. And that will be followed by a request in this budget cycle for the remaining positions at those 4 areas. So 12 merit staff to the tune of 1.2 million.
Josh, this is a requirement, right?
Correct. Yes, this is a mandate to us. And so we've been submitting budget requests since FY24 to be able to meet this requirement. And based off the budget guidance that the county has put out over the last several budget cycles, they have asked us to put forward the request this way. So it is with the expectation or hope that this will be fulfilled. Our FY26 operating budget impact re-request. This is for new properties that have come online that the Park Authority is maintaining or operating. We have made this request in the past and have not received funding. And this year, and you can see last year we requested to the tune of almost 1.6 million. This year we have gone through and scrubbed out a few of the locations from the list to look at reducing that impact, as well as looking at Laurel Hill Central Green and Overlook Ridge and trying to have some efficiencies there and combine things. So our request this year, we'll estimate it today around $1.2 million. I'm sorry, $1.19 million. And you can see the locations that we've focused on. That is a request for 7 merit positions and 3 non-merit positions. And then lastly, we're still working with Department of Management and Budget on our contract rate increase approach. So the county has recognized over the years that contracts continue to rise in cost, and how can we try to mitigate some of the impacts of that. So we are working as aggressively as we can to try to get as much funding as we can for contract rate increases that we experience every year. Keep in mind, if we don't get funding and the contract price goes up, we still have to pay that if we're going to provide the service, right? So that has the effect of us absorbing. We're looking at how we absorb that if we don't receive those kind of contract rate increases. So today our amount is 2.4 million. We expect that to go up as we work through the contract rate side of things. And we'll have a final budget request in the month of September here that we submit to DMB as part of this process. I mentioned earlier the September 10th Park Authority Board meeting where we'll receive public comment. Wanted to go through quickly the ways that you can get information on the public comment period or on the budget and our fees. We've got our link here. We can submit or we'll take comment via email, via US mail, or signing up to speak at the meeting on September 10th. So all of these are ways that you or friends groups are able to help comment and advocate that process. And again, that next meeting for us would be September 10th. Allison, will that be here in this room again?
Yes.
Here in this room. That is it from a budget standpoint.
I did have one question from an online participant asking about whether composting would be part of the zero waste efforts.
I don't believe so.
That amount, that $200,000 amount that is estimated to be received by adding entrance fees, does that include the amount of money it would cost to have an employee full-time at the top at the entrance?
Yeah.
And a Riverbend has 2 entrances, 2 people?
Yeah, so staffing would be built into, it's really the staffing would be covered and then the $200,000 and
Yeah,
So
you, so
offsetting
you
the
think you're
personnel
gonna get that amount of money with that? And it's per car or per person walking in? So you can walk in for free?
Yeah, that's the general way that we
Yeah.
handle this.
No, okay. So that means, of course, parking will be spillover in the neighborhoods.
There's definitely impacts to that fee. There's no doubt about it.
And as well as it will mean the donations that people put in the donations box, which is currently at least $4,000 a year, that will disappear too.
This is definitely why all of these are non-recommended, right?
Yeah,
It's, $1.8 million of cuts, and what's the way to handle putting forward something?
No, it'll be devastating for Riverbend.
I recognize that everything here is quote, non-recommended, unquote. I get that. I'd like to see a little more clarity on $550,000 block that's there that has nothing other than a line that says, we're gonna do something. I'd like to get a little clarity as to what that means.
I mean, to be candid, that's part of the county's prescribed process for looking at positions and benefits, and it's not a public process. So
Okay,
understanding the desire for more info there, but it was not a discussion that we are the only agency today that is as public with our budget process compared to every other county agency. This is something that's impacting every county agency. We are the ones that are presenting up front what we see as the impacts. It's not a
Okay.
process we can talk about publicly when we're.
so I have a couple more comments, understanding that you're limited by what's going on. Okay. One of the comments is apparently, since you're willing to add positions, you have 5 positions that didn't exist before that you want to add in. It seems as though you see that there is a need for additional staff within the park authority. It doesn't make sense to me to add these 5 positions and then take away 5 positions from the park authority. That's my perspective on that. I'd like you to understand my perspective on that, and that's why I say it. Similarly, great, additional fees at some parks. Okay, I'm good with that. Maybe you're a little too constrained. I think you have revenue opportunities that are out there that would not have impact, that would pay for some of these positions. The biggest fear that I have is that we're going to take advantage of a retirement of some personnel to say, oh, they're retired, we're not going to ever replace that, which means that site's now down a position. Never mind that it takes 6 months at least, regardless of anything else. But to take away that person doesn't, again, flies in the face of everything else it seems to me you're trying to do. If we could do additional revenue generation, which you are looking at doing, do that to fund that position on a site-by-site basis. I'd like you to consider that too.
So a couple things real quick. First, yes, it doesn't make any sense to be reducing positions and then adding them. The reality is I can't trade one for the other. If I'd say I'm not gonna, so I was told we had to put in for the trash and recycling for both things. So that's told to us and finally put it in. But if I were to fall on the sword and say, no, don't give it to me, they're not gonna reduce my cuts for 1.8. It's and we just don't get it. So I can't trade off those two things. I don't even know what else to say about that besides that, right? It is not lost on us that this exercise has us cutting, and we can't, I mean, we're cutting into like, as always have to give him credit. County Executive Chris Leonard said, the first time there was a cut, we were cutting through fat, this is countywide. Second time we cut through some muscle, now we're cutting bone. We are cutting bone. And this is across the county, to give everybody credit or whatever, this is across the county. So I can't say that makes sense.
I'm with the fire department. You're looking at the same thing. I
yes,
get it.
exactly. So the second thing, I will say, can't say that much, but I will direct you to the fact that it's positions, not programs. So pretty much all I'm gonna direct it. So there's no program, we're not losing any programs with that cut, if that makes any
It does make
sense.
sense.
Okay, so that's, I will sort of get into that. And then what was the third? Forget, what's the third?
Well, it has to do with additional revenue generated at a site level to pay for things at the site.
Oh, so we're trying to start, we don't want to, I mean, let's be frank, if I were to right now, and I'm not saying we're gonna charge at every single one of our parks, we can make a whole lot of money. I could also sell a lot of parks to make a whole lot. We gotta be sort of balancing when we're coming
Right,
in.
because when you have that fee, you're gonna have a whole big loss of people coming to the
Yeah.
site.
Exactly.
You're gonna have a loss of people coming to the site. You're gonna have a,
Donations.
huh?
And donations.
Donations will go way down.
So yeah, I understand.
And so that was one of the balances with that, how much that is. We thought long, I mean, it was a long conversation about, we knew that was gonna be the topic of a lot of conversation for all the reasons why you guys, mentioned. The reality is it's that or closing facilities. I mean, that's where we're at. It's that or we're cutting more people. Like we're like, it is, and I don't imagine that we're at the end of the line. I would imagine next year we're gonna get us another, if it's not 5% or 7%, I don't know if anybody else is looking at projections, but everything is telling us it's not
I know
so.
My history ball in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a year when you've gotten more money.
Oh, we did.
Some-
More money than,
3 years ago.
3 years ago, we got it, yeah,
Right,
we were doing
right.
really well. We were getting money for maintenance and operations. That's one of the reasons why, some of our Park Authority board members, I'm not gonna look their direction, is very frustrated with what we're doing right now, because we're going backwards in where we had made we were making a lot of gains. It's really frustrating, in general, especially in the gains that we were making in maintenance, and the fact that that's where the majority of our operation, our non-personnel dollars are. And so when you're cutting, I mean, the reality is, Kim's not here, but poor Kim and Laura, like, they're the only ones that have dollars that are associated with people. Everybody else over here, they're all people. Tortia's entire budget is people. It's her whole division. Like, there's no, I mean, maybe she's got some copy money. So it's tough. So we were looking at both in the balancing of both things. That's why we call them the non-recommended cuts.
Yeah, 2 years ago, 3 fiscal years ago, we did receive some additional maintenance dollars. They were all cut last year. The fiscal year that we are in right now.
Right.
Was it
Your
COVID
sweetheart
money?
deal.
I'm sorry?
Was
Part
it
of
your
COVID
sweetheart
money?
No, it was actual recurring money that the board of supervisors.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Budget.
We were getting, I know.
We're taking it out.
Need to leave and come back?
Is that what I need to? Okay, well, as long as you guarantee that you'll hire me back, then maybe we'll do it again and you can interview me and we can do a tour. As if I've never seen the parks before. Introduce me to all of the parks again. But, it is frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating.
At what point might we know more about the position reduction?
You're not gonna know about the position reduction until February, probably, if it makes it
The
in the
county
budget.
executive
The county
advertises
executive.
it's his budget.
That's find out.
But it's positions, not programs. I'm hoping that you're picking up between the lines.
Mhm.
Either.
I have a
Questions for Josh?
question about, I know that next year for the advertised budget, February, and the pie that comes out, where the money goes, and that little slice over there that's parks and libraries will look a little bit.
Is it a slice? We call that, what we call that a slice? We call it a pancake, like we call it, a slice, I feel like it's more triangular
Yeah,
than what ours is, like a line.
it's 0.65% of the overall, as you know, budget. But next year, it's going to have the construction and contribution, general construction and contributions fund lumped into it. How much more will it be? How much more will the Park Authority represent with that lumped in? Because I can't tell what's the Park Authority stuff.
So I'm gonna let Josh answer. I'm gonna give you the layman's terms. The different pots of money always existed. This is not a new thing.
Right.
So it's not, my budget didn't get any bigger. There's a little bit of, we're a little bit more flexible with how we can spend some stuff, so there is a benefit to us. We wouldn't have, to have that look so much different, to make it look like, oh, now it's not the slice and maybe now it's like 2 pancakes, right? Because of they're bringing in the county construction. But all the time, the stuff, we just sort of talk about the budget in one lump because there's so many 17 different things. You don't care how I'm doing the playground. It's just that we're doing the playground, or how we mow grass, that it comes from Fund 300 as opposed to it comes from the operating budget. It just sort of that. I don't know how much, do you have the answer to?
I don't know the answer to that offhand.
Yeah, I just
think-
wonder, because we keep saying we want at least.
It's not gonna
it could
double.
be at least 1%
Yeah,
of the
I
budget.
think it really does represent no change. So, and that, I think
It's not-
pie chart
but it's that pie
associated with
chart won't
with the
change.
general fund. I think we actually won't be in the general fund anymore, right? We've created a separate fund for this. I'm not positive how the budget documentation that they'll be working on over the next several months will represent the parks picture now that we have a new fund. So that's something that we'll work through, but it represents no additional
Right. I
dollars
realize
to
that,
us. So that chart you saw before is tied to our operating budget,
right.
which was the 0.65%. We had the budget in the county construction fund, which would not have been included in that chart historically, right? So
Right.
this is where we're combining it, moving it all out of the general fund. I'd have to go again, review exactly how that pie chart is created that we've used. But part of the implication of us having a separate fund, we may not be as tied in on that picture moving forward. Not positive how that'll be
Yeah.
shown as we
I
get
just
to the
want to
new
be able
budget.
to interpret it.
I think
One of the things
when
I
it comes
asked
out.
Josh to do is give us what our general fund dollars were and then the other, whatever, 2, 3 funds that are getting lumped in there.
What's gonna be the big top dollar?
Well, so that we could see over the last couple of years, just because it's gonna look like we went from,
Right,
I'm gonna make up numbers, 35 to 70 million dollars, right? But nothing really changed. So I want to be able to point to people that maybe with $70 million, it was 35 in general fund, and then here are the other 3 pots of money. And that's what it looked like over the last 3, 4 years. So we can see that there's really been no net change, or to the extent there has been a net change, it's been in the reverse direction. So, because what I don't want, say, Board of Supervisor member to all of a sudden
right.
be talking about when we get into the next fiscal year is, oh, look at all the money the Park Authority has. It used to be this, now it's that. And, you know, it's a paper exercise, and I want us to be able to be very clear about that moving forward.
And you know, don't make my point to. The reality is it also does make it more transparent. And so that is helpful. In general, some of the cuts on here are from Fund 300. And so we're the ability to take cuts from that, because it's kind of general fund-ish adjacent. It's not capital, is really, you know, what it is. So it sort of helps out with the whole, that part a little bit. But I mean, you know, enough that it makes, you know, sense. But I think that Kyle's right, is to be able to compare apples to apples to see what our budget was 3 years ago, and we just need to erase the old one, the old pie chart, and just replace all the last like 7 years with the new pie chart. So then now we're, okay, that's fine. We're still comparing. So we had this much, then we still haven't gone up or whatever.
As we get into that cycle, that's where we'll produce what Kyle's talking about of this is exactly what it was last year. It was in 2 separate buckets. Here's what it is in 1 bucket, but you're not seeing that overall picture change. So as we get into that cycle of what's being produced and as the county's preparing to release the proposed budget, that's what we'd be showing in our board meetings generally. This is where we were last year to this year, so.
I'm just curious how, you know, how much more money will show in that slide. I just don't know how much the Park Authority gets from that the old general construction
It's not.
contributions.
It's not staff. It doesn't cover staff,
It's
right?
all
It
contractual.
does, WP.
It covers a lot of contracts. It covers some staffing elements in there tied to WPFO and
But not
Covers our
positions.
maintenance of school.
Maintenance of school fields.
there's a
But like
good,
that money doesn't all of a sudden, we still have the same rules of governing spending it. I can't then say I'm not gonna mow the school fields and I'm gonna hire 7 people. That fund can't be used for that. That's why it's kind of called a county construction fund. And so when we're talking about our needs, and we're talking about sort of where we're deficit and, you know, yes, we need more money in contracts and those things up, but we need people too. We need people to be picking up and that's not, no matter how much that fund goes up, we do WPFO, which is work performed for others, which is when we charge that for something, but I can't create new positions off of that necessarily. So you're also a little hindered.
When we sat here last year and went through a similar presentation, that reduced positions number, what was that number last year?
We didn't have one.
We didn't have one at all last year.
Red sites,
There was eliminate
2 sites.
Closed 2 sites.
and
Well,
eliminate 2 positions.
That's not entirely correct. It was a little different last year because there were positions, but they were vacant positions. So the difference here is that these are real people this time, which is why we're able to be more open with it last year, because the positions we were showing were vacant.
Okay.
So there were 2, maybe 3. One was a photographer, one was a.
Historical.
Sorry, thank you.
So there were 3, but
And
they
the
were.
heritage resource was lost. Right? That was eliminated.
Yes.
And the photographer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so 2 of the 3,
And the ecologist. Was the ecologist included?
so all 3 of them
I think they were
were
taken because they
taken
were
last year.
vacant.
So 3 positions taken last year.
Those were vacant, that's why we're able to be very explicit about this is what it is.
I have another question. It's I get in the weeds. And I like comparing FY 2025 advertised budget, your general fund, with FY 2026. And reorganization happened. And so that's quite a puzzle, figuring out where all the positions went, right? And when I look at the was the Resource Management Division, which is now in two different divisions. Resource Management Interpretation and Stewardship and Planning. I look at 59 positions in Resource Management and Interpretation. And then I think I track about 18 positions of ecologists and heritage resource specialists that go over to stewardship and planning. And when I add that up, I get a total of 77 positions. That is a decrease of 10 positions. In FY 2025, Resource Management Division had 87 positions in the advertised budget. Anybody else, am I wrong?
So there's a major effort last year in our budget documents, which had not been updated position-wise in years, and I'm not gonna guess how long it had been, but a major update last year to reflect where positions actually are housed across our agency, several of which have been adjusted through, you're talking about maybe the SPD, RMI reorganization and the split there of those, sorry, stewardship and planning.
Define SPD or.
Stewardship and Planning Division,
Okay.
Torsia's group here, and taking the natural and cultural resources groups. And then additionally, positions spread across the agency in every cost center that did not really reflect where they sat and hadn't been updated for years. So I don't know the specifics of every individual position in there, but there was a major effort last year to look through where our positions actually sit today versus what was reflected in years old budget documentation. So you're seeing some of that update. I can't answer every individual. RMI had, 7 less here and 5 more there or whatever it might be. But it's both factors, both the reorganizations that we've done recently that aid into that on top of positions that haven't truly been in any one division for a long time and are being put into the correct one. We had similar things of groups that were out in operating divisions that are now in a central administration group. And so that's reflecting moves from those operating divisions into the location that they're now in from reorganizations that have happened over.
And we also had positions taken that were vacant
Yeah.
before that they didn't
We knew two
do that.
positions.
Yeah.
that are-
like
Okay,
that. So
sorry.
there's a budget exercise where they took positions, but then there's another exercise where they take positions earlier in the year. Because before we ever go into this, they will, DMB will go in and be like, oh, you haven't used this position in a long time, you don't need it, we're gonna take that position. And so there's an exercise of I don't know how many we took, but they take positions.
It
that haven't
sounds
been-
in the advertised budget, they mentioned two that were.
We lost 2 positions.
They lost two, yes.
Yeah, two.
Kaylin, to your
Yeah.
question, if that's okay, if I jump in, I'm Laura Grape, Resource Management Interpretation Division Director. We have 72 general funded merit positions, and then there's an additional 10 or so revenue funded positions that several of those positions we do not have the budget to be able to support.
72 in resource management. and-
Yes, so a total.
It says 59. Is that because some of those are,
I'm not sure I'm not exactly sure where the source for your numbers.
it's
is
the
in
advertised
document.
budget,
Advertised
page
budget.
300 and
60.
volume 1.
Yeah.
300 and something.
We'll have to make sure that we go back and take a look and.
Because that's the public information we have. And if it's wrong in that document, that's
Right now.
important.
Yeah.
Is to have the correct information, because my looking at it, it's like, I'm all about everything resource management, natural and cultural resource management. And that's like, whoa, we had a high of 94 in 2021. This isn't good. This isn't good. So maybe we can.
Dedicated to sites for R&D.
Hard for me to say by looking at the descriptions. Because the descriptions aren't very descriptive.
They do list all the positions in the
They do.
advertised budget.
But
I played
I
a
would
little
love
game with that.
Sidebar, complete sidebar. I would love for you guys to have.
lost.
Sorry. I would love to have this conversation, because I feel like the people who do it don't think that there's anybody who like looks into stuff very hard. So a lot of
We
times
look
like, don't
really
change,
hard.
don't change, when they send it out, they're like, don't change stuff too much, just change like X, Y, and Z, so. Why don't we get to, I mean, I think we could look back in the last couple and like
Yeah.
do a
I would like to
crosswalk
see, I
and
would
look at
like
that
to
with
see the difference
the
between
things.
your number and our number. Because I agree with your 59.
So thank
I
you.
don't, I'm sorry. I'd also like to point out that you're talking, this isn't easy for you guys, and I recognize it, that it's, you know, the seventh layer now. But
It's great.
when you talk about eliminating positions that aren't filled, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're eliminating a position that isn't needed. That's one that you haven't given people permission to fill that are desperately needed. So it's can't be swept away quite that easily.
Listen, we don't sweep away. So there's three different categories. Well, there's three or multiple different categories of positions that aren't filled. Not to get into the weeds, but we're given what's called a salary turnover, which is that no agency, I don't care who you are, ever spends all of their personnel dollars. Because people leave, people come in, people retire. There's just always a little bit of a delta between the two. They kind of assign a number to each department. They say, this is what you owe us back, because this is about average what we think that you're gonna keep, vacant. Ours is, quite frankly, pretty high. A large part of ours being high is because on the other side, because we haven't gotten a lot of operating budget impact for new parks when they come online. We haven't gotten always our consumer pricing index with inflation and things go up. I always say the cost of pig food has gone up significantly from 1987 till now. And if we haven't had the prices, our budget change to reflect that, we still have to feed the pigs. And so where does that delta come from? We have to find it someplace else. And where we find it is in personnel dollars. So the second group of vacant positions are positions that we have to hold specifically because we need to take that money and we need to pay other bills. We need to deal with forestry. We need to deal with cutting the grass. We need to do all that other stuff that we don't have the money to do. That's two different groups of vacancies. Then we have the normal organic vacancies that we're trying to fill because we're just in the hiring thing. We absolutely need all of our positions. Like those are none of that is given freely or we're saying, oh, we really don't need. None of them are things that we don't need. Just really hard choices that forestry, for instance, and we got forestry money, then we got it taken away. There's nothing that I can do about it. It's, it costs what it costs. We have a derecho, it costs $2 million for forestry. Some years it costs $800,000, but the option is never, I can't come and take care of the tree that's about to fall on your house. Because so it's a really hard sort of position, but it's not lost on us at all, nor do we ever give them lightly. It is a dog fight every single time they come and say, we need to take, positions. I think we've done a pretty good job recently with explaining that these aren't just sitting there, not filled because we don't need to fill them. There's a purpose, and let's eliminate some of that pressure as to why we have to keep those vacant. And that gets to what we were working on before. We got the forestry money. That relieved some pressure that we had to move from all of that money of getting maintenance. That frees up those positions that we can fill because now we're getting back to where we need to be in our maintenance and on our contract money we have to spend because as much as we all would love to do stuff, I can't stop mowing the grass everywhere. I can't, it'll just be, so that money has to be spent. The more we can make them and Kim flush in just having the amount of money that they need to pay their bills, then I don't have to leave as many positions vacant because I don't have to transfer money over. It's like this shell game.
Makes sense. Comes out of one pot.
It's a balloon, squeeze it. That's my favorite thing to say is I don't have a magic wand. Like I can't just make it, make it appear. Another question, Josh?
I think I would take some issue with that. You have to pay. You can't pay what you don't have. And maybe if a tree fell on somebody's house, hopefully nobody would be interested. That says to the county that they need to give you more money. As long as you can always take care of it, that decreases greatly the likelihood that you'll get an increase because, well, you took care of it.
So thank you for saying that. You're saying that I should need to say no more often? Is that the general tenet for, so we have significantly in the past few years been saying that, we just can't, but part of it is saying no, but part of it is just, we have reached the end of the rainbow, right? We have reached as an organization, the end of the rainbows and unicorns, and we can just make do with what we have. We're at the end of our rope. We cannot stretch the money anymore. So the no sometimes is an organic no. It's just that we can't do, X, Y, and Z. But there are certain things that just, you can put your feet in cement. There's absolutely no way There's absolutely no way with the possible, we're talking possible loss of life, we're talking about limbs on houses, there's no way I could say no. Zero way. I mean, I can say no, I'll be in this job for like 2 more seconds and then, I mean, there's just, we're not being good neighbors. I can't pick those two things. There's just certain things that we have to do.
Josh, can you go back to the OBI slide? Because to some extent we are saying no, Toddy, to the greatest extent that we can. The last, so we met with the Board of Supervisors. We'll do it again this fall, but last fall we met with them. And in the spring, we met with them, and in every one of those meetings I was in, and I was in, I think all but like 2. When we got to this slide, there's a couple that are in this bolded font, the black versus the white. And I told the board members to their face in those meetings that we're not accepting some of these until we have money to go with them. We just won't open, for example, Overlook Ridge, the Lorton Landfill, that proposed park. We are at the end of the rope with opening things that we don't have money for. So we have started to put our foot down on those things. We'll see, we'll see how well that goes for me in the next, over the next year or 2. But that's the argument I made in every meeting I had with a board member over the last 12 months. I'm going to do it again when we start meeting with them in October. Because we cannot do it anymore. So there are certain things, to Jade's point, that we have to be more careful, or perhaps can't even say no to at all, with the kind of the potential loss of life or damage to property with the trees. And, maybe even to some extent with mowing, just because of the just absolute uproar that would come if we really stopped mowing. But where we can really dig our feet in the ground, and a couple of those are examples of that, we're not adding to the plate of the park authority until there's the corresponding increase in funding.
And the craziest thing about this one is like, this is like these are our projects. We didn't plan them. This is a BOS Crawford Park that they're the developers building, and then they're gonna give it to us. They're like, oh, can you maintain it? Crawford built park, Crawford built park. None of these aren't ones that we planned that one, that we planned to do, but it's artificial turf fields. I have to groom it, and I don't have $50,000. So $50,000 is coming out of someplace. So Kim just added $50,000 to her budget. That's a half a position that I have to hold. So yeah.
Yeah, just one more on that. So the Scotts Run, which last year was on the budget to be closed.
Different, Scotts Run. I don't know why they.
Oh, it isn't? This is
Totally
not
different.
that
This is next
Scotts
to-
Run.
Oh, this is next to the new fire station.
Because
It's
that
over
was
by,
like,
This is next door, yeah.
yes, no, that's a different, I don't know why they call it Scotts Run.
Some places don't accept parks unless there's or assets unless there's an endowment. Do you have that option?
So
Well, I mean,
this is what we're saying.
theoretically, we do. Like the argument I'm making right now is those 1, 2, 3, 4, and Woodlands is a little bit of a unique situation. So we'll call it 4.5. Those 4.5 sites that are bolded. I'm making the argument that we cannot open them unless and until we get additional funding from the Board of Supervisors. Where the rubber meets the road here is that the Park Authority Board, while a legally separate entity to a large extent, it's not wholly independent of the county. We are appointed by Board of Supervisors members. We do receive a substantial sum of money from that. So there are political, if you will, small p political discussions and decisions and all that below the subsurface here. So we don't have the opportunity to just say no and move on with our day. There is a bit of a back and forth that's going on here too behind the scenes. We don't have the opportunity to say, yeah, no, you didn't meet the funding requirement and wash our hands and move on.
I do think you're onto something. It makes perfect sense what you're saying. We could have facilities if we have the funds to operate them. And I think what you might try as a strategy too, last year on these boards, there were several possible park closures because the 10% was so deep.
Yep.
And I didn't think that was such a bad idea to close certain established parks for a period of time, maybe 1 year, and then roll it on to a closure at somewhere else. And maybe that's the kind of thing that quickly gets neighborhood comments So maybe that's the kind of thing that could be used as a strategy to say, yes, we can make cuts. This is a cut that, you know, it takes some suffering to
Yeah.
get to these things.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, to some extent, I was surprised that Park Authority staff didn't present that again. I think some of it was because of how unpopular it was received by both the community, to your point, and the Board of Supervisors. I think if we're doing this exercise again next year, I have a really hard time imagining how Park Authority staff's gonna come up with cuts that don't include closures if we're back to a 5 to 10% all over again. But, you know, one of our primary tenets is making the system more accessible, right? That's what we're trying to work towards. And ultimately, we're a public good. You know, we're a public amenity. And, you know, we're already in this budget looking to increase fees to access, which I don't really love.
What I always say is that, you know, there are limits to what we taxpayers,
Sure.
but we all want the things we want. But we all have to recognize we can't have all the things that there are without the money to pay
Yep.
for them.
Yep.
And there's a
And
limit
cut
to
tax.
what,
You can't have all
what
of those
we're-
things and cut the tax rate.
Right.
But that's, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, and not from anybody in the know, but it's like, well, can't you do it without impacting people? What do you think I do? Sit on a pile of money? No, I can't cut $1.8 million without people seeing an actual cut of $1.8 million. Like, that's not, that doesn't, that, and maybe, I'm, you know, I'm not saying that people are rolling in it, but there are places that it's not quite as bad. But you will see closures of facilities in other, like, this is not, I mean, I think that there was a lot of big cuts, you know, last year. This is not, nobody's sacrosanct. Like, you're gonna see there's gonna be some very interesting sort of decisions at the BOS this year with this budget across the board. But it's, you know. Other questions? Just remember, they're all our babies. We love everything, single thing. We would like to do all of them. We don't want any of the cuts to happen, especially ones that impact, as Kyle was saying, you know, our ability to allow people to come in, you know, enjoy, you know, the parks. But I mean, I don't see this as, it's not gonna get better. It's awesome. We maybe should have done this at the end. Yes, great. Like, you guys were so excited. I know, totally. Any other questions? Okay, thanks. Thanks, guys.
Moving on to a lighter topic. We have some updates we're making to the Friends Group MOU template. Many of you are from groups that have signed MOUs with us. We established a template many years ago. Each group that has a signed MOU with us took that template, customized it to your individual group, had lovely signing ceremonies in many cases. We've now extended those agreements, and it's time to make some updates to the template. As we've worked over the last 5-8 years with many of you, we've found just some tweaks that we'd like to make to the template, sort of clarify, we'll talk through what those changes are. So this is us kind of rolling that out for you. The original agreements are about to expire, many of them in 2026. Some of them not for a few years after that, but we wanted to give everybody plenty of time to kind of absorb the changes, work with the new template, customize it to your group again, and work through that process. So what's changing? We've made some clarifications on the roles and responsibilities of the Friends Group and staff of FCPA. We've added some language around use of the FCPA logo, the Marketing and Communications Division, which did not even exist when we created the template initially. We'll have some guidance and some language on how you should be using the logo, but also on how we can support you in terms of marketing going forward. We've added some language around staff who are retiring or have left the site to wait 3 years before joining the board of that Friends Group. That language was also added to the foundation bylaws a couple of years in their updates, and we felt that it was appropriate to add that here as well.
Is that any staff at the park, or is there like a qualification based on level or tenure?
think it was designed to be any staff.
Any staff?
Right, and that's being on the board of the Friends Group, not as a member of the Friends Group.
Yep.
We added some clarification on coordination. That's obviously coordination is sort of the big piece of the reason we have these MOUs is to make sure that everybody's clear on what the Friends Groups are doing, what staff is responsible for. We're all working together to support each other, but working through development of work plans, budgets, events, projects, all of those things and clarifying that coordination effort. And the last one is foresight for groups, and this does not apply to everybody. Obviously, each group is very, very different. Having a provision for groups that do have actual items that you're storing at the park for anything that's valued over $100 that we have just for clarification, documentation purposes, that we have a list of those items, who's responsible, who's storing them, where they're getting stored, that kind of thing. Just again, to make sure that things are clear for everyone. Those are the big highlighted changes. I will send out tomorrow a redlined version of the old MOU to outline and highlight those changes for you throughout so you can see that. I'll send a cleaned up copy so that if you're ready to work through moving forward, whenever your group's MOUs is due up. And again, I recognize several groups aren't expiring for another couple of years, but some groups do expire, I think as early as spring.
So you will let us know in our individual cases when that's going to be.
When you're expiring, absolutely, I can let you know for sure. So each group should take that.
All right,
Go
on
ahead.
that list of items,
Mhm.
is, and maybe I'm getting into the weeds on frying pan. I know we're a bit unique. Does that mean like every item sitting at the park that is stored there? Cause like, we're very, like, maybe we're just really unique, but like,
If
we have a
it's
ton of shit at that park. Like every animal sitting at that park, right?
We do have a good list of the inventory of the animals, and I think, again, the limit of anything $100 and more. So if there, yes, so we do want to make sure that we're inventorying all of the.
What about things that are on it, like Ascension to the park? Like that we've,
The collection lease,
Yeah.
lease kinds of stuff, that's been well inventoried.
So once your group is ready to move forward with the MOU template, you'll take it, customize it to your specific relationship with the park, with FCPA. We'll go back and forth, collaborate on that effort. Hopefully we'll get to a resolution. We'll have a new signed agreement. We'll be able to celebrate again and move forward under the new agreements for the next 5-year term.
I think somebody was raising her. Oh, me.
Eight raised hands. So that's it in a nutshell for that piece. We certainly appreciate the partnerships that we have with each of you and look forward to continuing those relationships going forward. It's time.
I'd like to go back to that list. Have to wait 3 years after starting FCPA employment. I don't think that belongs in an MOA. If you can put it in your hiring provisions for your personnel, if that's a restriction on them when they leave your agency, fine. But I don't feel comfortable having something for us as a wholly separate entity telling us who we can and cannot bring on our board.
yes. I don't think we can put provisions on people once they've left. I think the intent of everything is when we have people who are working like. We have people that are working, on and they're replaced or somebody else comes in. They need to have space in order to be able to make their own way. We'll use the park authority, for example. If I were to leave tomorrow and Kyle were to leave his position, I mean, I'm pretty qualified to be the chairman of the park authority board. Is that the best thing? The new director is gonna now be under my, scrutiny all the time. It doesn't give them the oxygen to create what they need to sort of create themselves with people who are, used to be employees, who are sort of now in control of a lot of their
Yeah,
funds.
I have no problem whatsoever, ever, with park authority somehow putting restrictions on their employees. I mean, I think the federal government does that.
It's commonly done in government.
Yeah,
They
they
can't hire
You
you.
can't take roles with contractors, and that's, I mean, you know that up front when you take that job, they tell you, if you leave and you're in a contracting position, you can't go work for a contractor for so many years. They don't, you know, and besides that, I think there's statute law that provides for that kind of thing. This is a different thing here. We're not dealing with a statute that tells us this. You're not trying to put this in your agency regulations. I don't think, maybe you are. That's where I think it belongs. I think you need to provide these controls internally. And it should not be incumbent upon us to say, oh, sorry, you can't join our board. I mean, again, we are a separate entity. We're independent. And I think it's not.
Are you though? You're independent. Of course, you're separate, but we're partner, right? So you're representing a site in general also. So we're working together. You're separate, but but we're working together, right? Like at the site for the common good.
You don't exist without
Right,
the
right.
proof that you're the friend.
Correct. So there's got to be a give and take at some point in time. And if we're having an issue, you know, at some point being able to distinguish, we can look into that. I mean, if that's a way to do the same thing, we can ask legal if we were able to have the current, I don't have a problem with that. The goal is the same. Our just goal is whichever mechanism it is, that there isn't a former employee, that they take the 3 years. However it makes the most sense to do, I'm open to figuring that out. But that's sort of understanding the intent of what we're trying to allow that oxygen in general is important.
What's
the fear here?
Tonight, but that's.
What's the fear here? What's the
So
concern?
imagine, I'll just use the me as an example. So imagine
Let's not use you as the example. Let's use just any, because you're at a, you know, you're in the, you're up there high in the heaven. But you wanna use Julie Tran. What would prevent Julie, what would be terrible about Julie retiring in many years from now? It would be terrible if it was soon. And joining this young lady's board. What influence or special privileges would she bring to that group that you'd be concerned about?
Well, a lot. I mean, you guys have a lot of power in making the direction for each of the sites. Like you
What would
control.
she be able to
She
do?
gets to run the site. So you're the helipad. I'm making up a new site. There's a helipad site and there's a Friends of, and Julie ran the helipad. Then she retires. So then she's on the board for the Friends of the helipad. And so the board of the Friends of the helipad want to continue to go in the direction that Julie was going. Julie's predecessor, or the person who's following Judy, wants to go in a different direction. They want new oxygen and new whatever it is. We're now stuck on this 40 or 50 year, however long, because now we got two people fighting over the direction of, two people who have power over the helipad site, fighting over the direction, and Julie's person filling her position doesn't have the oxygen to be able to figure out what she wants for the thing, and working with the new board. Now you're dealing with, nobody wants to, that's the horrible place to be in, is that I now have to report to the person who used to have my job, or talk to the person who said, that's weird. It's weird, and it's a conflict. It's a little bit of a conflict, not forever. Just give her a little bit of oxygen in order to figure out where her paycheck comes from, figure out all that other stuff. Because there is an inequity there with somebody who's been in that job for 10, 15 years.
But even if you don't view it as the site manager of the group, like just think about your park staff, right? Who now somebody who was their boss a week ago is now sitting on the board. That can cause a conflict between, do I listen to my new boss or the person I just worked for 100%? Right? So like, don't just make it about like I appreciate your example, but like, that's like a site manager, but like, think about also the site staff and how they might view that situation.
Yeah.
There are two different issues, and I think Tottie's point is that should be in your rules, not in the Friends Group rules.
We can look at, I have no problem with looking into that. We can come back if that's not possible, but just know we're still gonna be, if that's not possible, we're gonna have to explore, because we can't have, you just have to figure something out.
It's probably much harder to do in your
Because yours is a whole bureaucracy.
Yep.
And you've got to go through your human resources and you've got to, somewhere
Allison's
in the
magic.
job descriptions.
It's gonna be done, Allison will figure out.
But
There you go, Allison.
Every
Something to do.
contract you have is FCPA.
Well, it's not a question of whether or not new employees can sign something. My question is whether or not you can force people who exist and working now to sign something that gives away that they didn't have to sign when they started. So that's probably the biggest, I can do anything with new employees. Like if you don't want to sign it, then you don't walk into the job. It's existing employees that's the question. But I think that I appreciate your thing. It is a problem that we're having. I think if you're sitting here thinking it's not a problem, it's probably not because it's not a problem at your site, in which case you don't have to really worry about it. But and that's a really good example of people. I mean, it's an imbalance of power where somebody who walks in at the beginning have no idea what's going on. And then there's
Having said that, let me just say that I agree, it is not incumbent upon the Friends group to not accept somebody. However, having said that, if it's somebody from, Huntley Meadows that wants to be on the Friends group of a park, River Bend, let's say, that's two completely different organizations. So, it would make sense to me. I mean, if it's somebody at Huntley Meadows, that's worked at Huntley Meadows and now is on the board, you're right, that is a no-no. But if it's somebody from Huntley Meadows that's going to be a River Bend, they have a
That's the
different
intention
mission and a
here,
different,
so,
that kind of thing. So does this mean on the board of the Friends group where they work?
correct.
Okay, that's different. That to me is, that makes more sense. It doesn't, I guess it doesn't say that of the Friends group for that site.
And we can work through that.
Yeah,
And I
okay,
think-
I just wanted to specify that.
The other point is, we're talking about a board that makes voting decisions, has the power.
Right.
The board has the power. People can join any friends group. That's not what we're not limiting, people joining membership. And you'll still have access to all that information that came from the Park Authority now in your friends group. It's just that board relationship is the most important.
Get it.
What is it?
Oh,
Good spotted landing.
I was just gonna say,
You think that was it?
everybody.
Get it. Sorry. That was a little too. Yeah, sorry.
so we're not limiting those relationships or anything. It's more the board and the power that your boards have, that board has in dealing with work.
I do understand that for the group where I can see Green Spring staff person. We'd love to have them, but it makes sense for the rest of the staff.
All right. So we'll use our remaining time to do kind of around the room. I'm sorry I neglected it at the start. We should have done some introductions of each of you so that we knew which groups are even represented here tonight. So let's start with that. And as we go around, you can share your successes and stories that you'd like to share with the group. Let's start over here.
I'm Cindy Gersoni. I'm the president of the Friends of Riverbend Park, FORB. There's not much new to report. We used to have a Native American festival every fall. We're not having one this year. By we, I mean the park is not having one. I just have 2 points. One is Riverbend Park is without a park manager right now. And I thought they were going to have a new one appointed by September 1st. Just wondering an update on that, and also who might be the acting one for September.
I can answer that question. So currently we are in process of hiring that position. So it was not hired by September 1st, but it is in process and we should be going into interviews here very soon, which is
So
exciting.
another month or?
And potentially another month, maybe 2, depending upon just again, the whoever's selected and if we bring on the right person. Right now, Andrew Wilkes is the acting.
So he's continued from August.
Correct.
Okay. And then the second thing I was reiterating from earlier, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback from county residents to pay a fee for county parks. Maybe if you have to charge out of county people, that's one thing. But I'm in Riverbend Park 5 days a week. sometimes twice a day. I'm not paying $30 a week to go visit my park. When I already do pay. I think it's not gonna go over well at all. And also looking at the slide, it says that the funds raised from those fees will go to pay, first of all, the gatekeepers, salary. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I should have looked at somebody had sent me the slides for that. I was quite taken aback by it. So anyway, I'm sure this is not the last time you will be hearing about that.
I'm on the board of Friends of Riverbend Park. I'm with Cindy.
She runs our Facebook page.
Paul Gross, Friends of Royal Lake.
Nicole Stroud, I am the president of the Friends of Frying Pan Farm Park. I replaced recently Jack Pitzer, who he is irreplaceable and he's still around, thank God, because he has all of our history and it keeps us in line. So we just had a very successful carnival in early August. We had record attendance at that. Our site staff did an amazing job with that. This coming weekend, we have our pre-turkey horse show. So in addition to the farm, we do have equestrian facilities on our site. So the Friends Group is actually running this weekend's horse show. So if you're interested, please stop by. We have our upcoming Fall Harvest Festival and Carnival. And then the highlight of the year, in our opinion, is our NASCOW event, where our cows race. Sometimes we do a goat race. Depends on how many we have and who can win. So we do kind of advertise as kind of people nominate who they believe is going to win the race. My children are terrible at selecting cows, so that's what we're picking this year. But please, we do have an event for that. We have an announcer. It is absolutely adorable, part of our park. And my one plea to this group is if anyone knows of anyone selling draft horses that would be a good fit for our park, keep us in mind and give us a call, because we are looking to purchase draft horses in the near future if we can pull that off. So that's fine.
What's your budget?
For the draft horses?
Yeah.
I don't wanna lead with that number. If I say what my number is, that's how much they're gonna cost. So I would love for them to actually be donated
Sure.
to the Friends Group, and then we wouldn't have to pay anything. We also have to pay for their upkeep and care. Teresa's either gonna yell at me or pull at me for that.
I'm Connie Carnes. I'm with the Friends of Historic Huntley. And on Saturday, October 25th, we will have the pleasure of hosting Professor Cynthia Kierner with the George Mason University History Department. She's going to come address our group on exploding steamboats and the culture of disaster. So this should be very interesting. It should focus on the 19th century. Any of you who are interested in that, we hope you'll join us. It'll probably be at the Martha Washington Library, and I say probably because I still need to check to make sure that they can accommodate our equipment needs. Also, our group, Friends of Historic Huntley, has joined with a number of other groups in the room, Green Springs, Frying Pan Park, also in the past, Coleman Run Mill, to name a few. There are others as well. And we network together as the Fair Parks Initiative in order to try and increase the general dollars that the Board of Supervisors appropriates to the Park Authority. We've had some success, as you've heard. We were actually on the upswing there until crisis hit once again. And now we're a little on the downswing, and we're trying to prevent cuts or get money restored. So any of you who would like to join us in that effort, please make sure to get in touch with me before you leave tonight, so we can get you hooked in and in the loop on our emails. And we meet by Zoom. During the budget cycle, we meet on Monday evenings at 5 p.m. Sounds like an odd time, but I pulled the group and that's when people wanted to meet. So we meet on Mondays at 5 on Zoom. And we coordinate responses, and we just talk amongst ourselves about the issues involving the budget and what we can do to help be good advocates on behalf of getting more money.
And on the side, we form a nice relationship with one another and get to know each other's parks a little better and join together in understanding what we can be as a friends group. So if you're interested at all, please don't leave without seeing me tonight. Thank you.
Yes, Susan Lamy, I'm with Laurel Hill Park Volunteer Team. We're not a friends group. We're a volunteer team, so we concentrate more on working than earning money. Couple things we did a little different this year. We, with assistance and cooperation of the Park Authority, of course, we installed 2 barn owl boxes. And we have 2 screech owl boxes on the way. This is following our 3 additional osprey nesting platforms. These were all built on a build it and they will come basis rather than having birds there now. And we also recently tried something else. There was quite a littering problem in the park around our picnic shelters. Pretty exaggerated problem because of the heavy use of those picnic shelters there. There's 4 of them. We, the volunteers drafted up, designed an anti-littering sign that combined the message with education about common insects in the park, including the litter bug. And we encouraged getting funds from the county's plastic bag single-use tax. It all came together. We have now 4 signs up at each of the picnic shelters. I'd like to think they were very effective because the park has been so much cleaner. But I have to commend the Park Authority for the part-time seasonal employee they've added there. The park is pristine since his arrival. And I will just comment, whoever is in charge of that part of the slide there, the idea of combining the Laurel Hill Central Green position with the overlook seems like a good one because I don't think our very effective employee is fully utilized, even at part-time. Thank you.
I'm Carolyn Gamble, and I'm with Friends of Historic Huntley. Hi. I'm Linda Nordstrom. I'm the current president of the Friends of Green Spring. And we just we just have been talking about having a new outdoor classroom built that I know the Park Authority is very familiar with. And I think the public comment period just closed for the second time on August 31st. So we're looking forward to having the site manager meet again with the Park Authority and see what our next steps are. So we look forward to that. And Toddy, I want to thank you for always pulling us together as the Friends group. She is truly the leader. And we come and participate, but she is the leader. Thank you. And
I'm Amy Martin. I'm the past president of Frogs and happy to turn over my duties.
you notice she's still here, everybody.
Didn't notice, didn't you? She's not going far.
The chain is underneath the chair.
You're still on my email list. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm Liz Train. I'm the current president for Friends of Huntley Meadows Park. I just came in this year behind Ben Jessup, who was serving as acting temporary for 3 years. So he was very relieved to turn over, but still remains on the board. The only thing I think we have to report is our funding has been typically for one of the big initiatives we have through a donor initially was to fund the Title I school field trips to Huntley Meadows. And we have typically been funding 50% of the Title I student fees. This year, we're funding 100% up to a capped level. And also including the bus transportation if they use Fairfax County buses. So for Title I, they won't get out to the wetlands.
I'm going to stand only because I don't want to have my back to all of you, so I'm going to stand over somewhere in the middle. I'm Kevin Holland. I'm the Friends of Hidden Oaks Nature Center president for quite a few years. we have a few things that are going on right now, different stages. Behind the site, 5 years ago, we spent some money and had a wonderful carving done of the tree and of the bench that was back there. It had been a 100-foot poplar tree that was knocked out by 2 lightning strikes in the same storm. So we hired a wonderful artist to chainsaw it for us, and he produced 15 wonderful animals. The public loved it. We were on simultaneously channel 4, 5, 7, 9, PBS, BBC. I think we even had Al Jazeera at one point to come see this wonderful, wonderful tree and bench, all done by donation. Well, so the plan was 15, 18 years because it's a tree. Well, the ambrosia beetles don't agree with us. And in fact, it lasted 5 years. And it's really disheartening to walk up to the tree and put your hand on the tree and keep going into the tree. But that's what happened to us over the course of about 4 months, is how that finally presented itself. So for safety purposes, we first harvested all the wonderful animals that he carved out, and we have them in storage and in preservation mode. And then we had to decide what to do with that wonderful space in the back. And this summer, we had an intern from University of Pittsburgh work with us, and she came up with some wonderful ideas. And what she's going to do is make that space into a sensory garden, or we're going to do is make it into a sensory garden. I don't have enough time to go through all of her 30-minute presentation, but it's going to be a great use of this space that's been looking for something to be done with it. Now that we no longer have this wonderful tree back there. And I think somehow we're going to incorporate some of these wood carvings into the background of the facility, because it'd be a shame not to. So that's going to be a project that's going to take us a few months to get done underway. We've begun a different project down the hill, if you will, from where we are, from Packard Center. We have a playground that's used every day, a lot, by neighbors, by the neighborhood, and by the 23 summer camps that we had this last year. Every day they're down there at some point. Maybe you'll remember July was kind of warm this year. Call it blazing hot to be out there in the sun. So we've come up with the idea it'd be really great if we come up with some sort of shade process to put in place there. And we're working with planning and design as to how we can do this. We actually met with them yesterday, and they have some great ideas, and they're all free, so that's really even better. No, these are thousands and thousands and tens of thousands.
What?
Yeah, I figured I'd get somebody's attention with that. Now, we are working all ends of the spectrum that we know of. We will be applying for a Massenburg grant. No question about that. We are working very closely and very likely going to be funded, partially funded, by the American Dermatological Society. They're very interested in the idea of shade for people. Also, the National Foundation for Shade is willing to step up. So we're trying to gather whatever we can get. I can't even pass the hat, that's going to work, but to get the money so that we can match that with Massenburg. And the way we can have to approach this, because the expense is so great, we would have liked to have put one great big shade over the whole 56 by 30 foot play area. But since we didn't have $200,000 laying around, we went another way. We're going another way. And we're going to be doing it, we think, at the recommendation of planning and design, not piecemeal with plan, but it may take us 2 or 3 years to get it done, because that's a reality. So we have time to fundraise and we have time to implement, and they've been great to this point in helping us envision what we need to do. Really, really good ideas. We'd asked when the park was put in, when the playground was put in, was there any thought of shade at that point, because you're out there in the wide open? And they said, yeah, that was discussed. Didn't have enough money. Who would have thought? You know, that's how that works. So this is an ongoing process too. And the final thing I'm going to talk about now is much more short term. We do a lot of American Indian programming at the site. And we have reached out to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and have a contact there now, who the idea is to bring her into the site and talk to us about our presentations to make sure that they are, what we're presenting is correct and updated. We've been doing this for 25 years, probably time to go back and review all that we've been doing. And we'll be happy to share that with the group once we have a better clue as to what's happening. So we're busy and we're happy with that. Thank you.
A few members online. I think Jim Waller would like a chance to share.
Right. Well, sorry I couldn't attend in person. Sounds like a wonderful discussion at Colvin Run. We're really excited about the new, the staff doing great stuff with new programming, including Movie at the Mill. It was Pride and Prejudice, where folks came dressed up in period costume and did dances of the period. We also, in conjunction with the Common Grain Alliance, had a whiskey tasting with a distillery from Middleburg, the Mac Defiance Distillery. And on this weekend, on Saturday, we have our major fundraiser in conjunction with the Celebrate Great Falls group called Mingle at the Mill. It's one of the few events that is adults only at the mill, where there's food and music and wine and beer. And we set up a still, but we can't operate it, but at least people can understand how whiskey was made in the old days around Northern Virginia. So thanks very much for an excellent discussion tonight.
Thank you, Jim. Harry and Nancy.
Hi, this is Harry Glasgow.
And Nancy Veers.
Nancy Veers, and we are representing the Friends of Huntley Meadows.
Well, Harry is an emeritus member of the board. I mean, Lizzie Train is now the president, so.
Yeah, right.
So
new president.
So what do you want to say?
I simply wanted to say that we have a number of projects going on that are standard Huntley Meadows sorts of events. The one thing that Nancy and I like is after the bird walk on Monday morning, we go to breakfast. I love breakfasts.
Yeah.
And we can talk. We can count the number of birds species that we encountered, and generally keep track of the birds that frequent Huntley Meadows. We would invite our new president, to join us on Monday morning if she'd like.
Well, we invite all of you to come join us at Monday morning. Right now, it's officially starts at 7, though people can come as late as they want. And in October, it'll start at 8 a.m. So meet in the parking lot at the visitor center, Monday mornings, the Monday morning bird walk. Okay. Anything else, Harry?
Nope, that'll be it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Any of our other online members care to share?
Yep. Hi, can I share my stuff?
Absolutely.
My parks are Accotink. I'm a board member of Friends of Accotink Creek, and we have 2 sites in Fairfax County that we use. Accotink Stream Valley Park and Lake Accotink. And what's been happening actually is pretty terrible. My site, Accotink Stream Valley Park, is now going to be, a lot of it's going to be cut down to make room for a sewer pipe. It's Accotink Valley Sewer. And our question to Supervisor Palchik was well, can't you guys put the sewer line under the existing path? And Fairfax Water said, no, that isn't possible. There's no room. But they didn't really give us a reason. So I was wondering, are there any engineers here who know anything about fitting a sewer line under a path? Because the problem is, he said, on both sides of the path, we have existing sewer lines that Accotink Gravity Sewer Project said they're going to fix and have running. So that'll be 3 sewer pipes. But instead of putting it under the path, they want to put it in the woods. It's a very narrow park, and that'll be a significant number of trees will be felled. So if anyone has anything to say about that, that'd be good. Any engineers?
Is it really a sewer pipe? Sorry, this is Nancy Veers.
Yeah, it is a sewer pipe. It's from the extra, it's going to go from in the park that I'm in, it's going to go for 0.2 miles. Yeah.
Okay, well, sewer pipes are not run by Fairfax Water. Sewer pipes would be the Department of Public Works.
That's right, but we had him there
Oh,
anyway.
okay.
But we didn't really get a reason for why they can't put it under the path, find some way of fitting it in. If this were on a street, they'd probably have to do it. But considering it's a park, they just regard a park as blank space. So we're upset that we're losing a lot of the park maybe for not a good reason.
I understand. I serve on the WOSA board and, sorry.
1 second, she's coming, hold on.
One moment.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Hi, this is Torsha. I'm the Division Director for Stewardship and Planning. My team is working with, can you hear me?
Sorry, is this about a new park, or are you commenting on my part?
Responding to you.
Are you
So
applying
my
to-
staff is working very closely with the Accounting Gravity Sewer Project team. We're working with DPWS to minimize the tree loss as much as possible. We have met with Supervisor Palchik and the Friends group there. And we are also identifying other places in the park and in the watershed that can actually have some more of the tree replanting that's going to go on. We asked about the sewer pipes when they were going in. I think what DPWS mentioned at that time was the alignment of the park and the slope that is required. They need a certain alignment to go for the sewer line to go from point A to point B. And that's why they had to go with the positioning that they are doing now. That said, they are actually avoiding some major trees in parts of the park as we are working very closely to minimize that, and then requiring them to replant and minimizing kind of non-native invasives coming in.
Oh, sorry, what is your name?
I'm Torsha, Torsha Bhattacharya. I'll not spell the last name. It's too long.
Torsha, and how would I contact you? Because I'm sorry, I'm doing this from online. What agency are you with? How could I contact you?
SCPA. We can reach out to, she'll reach out to you.
We'll find a way to connect with you. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that'd be good, because the plans were that they weren't going to replant with trees. They were just going to put maybe small bushes and forbs.
No, they will be replanting.
Because they wanted to be able to access and fix the sewer line without having tree roots in the way. So that was one thing we wanted to say. They're what?
They're not going to be replanting in the same location. We'll identify locations within the same watershed to replant so that they can actually grow. Because if it's a temporary easement, they need to come in again and the trees need to be cut down. It doesn't really make sense. So we are actually in the process of working with them and telling them the number of trees that are going to be impacted, and then requiring DPWS to plant at a ratio of 2:1.
So I
double the
think,
number.
I think it'd be best to take
Yeah.
it offline.
Yeah.
And we can give you a
Yes.
comprehensive update.
Okay.
And there are
so-
lots of other things that we are also doing.
Okay, what is your last name, Torsha? Sorry.
So,
We will email you all of the stuff. I
It's a
promise.
long,
Like,
complicated
seconds.
last name.
Okay, thanks.
We will connect with you.
The other thing I wanted to ask about was the person who put up the litter bug signs, the 4 signs at the picnic tables. Friends of Accotink Creek work a lot with stream cleanups twice a year, and we're always thinking about ways of putting up a sign like that. Is very interesting to us. So how can you what is your name, the person who talked about the litter bug sign?
April, it's me, Susan. I have your email. I'll send you a copy of the picture.
Great, that's wonderful. I have your email. And the other thing I was going to suggest that our friends of Accotink Creek said we very much oppose putting in paving in parks, like the Cinderbed Road Trail or any paving in parks. That's not a good idea. And the other thing, closing the parks maybe is not a bad idea, because my experience with Fairfax County parks has not been very good. They've been coming, they destroyed our vernal pool. They wanted to replace the trail, the paved trail that did not need replacing. So they put a silt fence in front of the vernal pool, the existing vernal pool, and they destroyed its water holding capacity. So I have to fill it. The last 2 years, I have to keep filling it with buckets from the creek. It, you know, last night it was 11 buckets, the other night 16 buckets. And then they never, they ended up not replacing the path at all. And then we had to remove the silt fence. So we're not happy about that. And the other thing that they do is they keep mowing. And I was told not to plant anything within 6 feet of the path because that's the mow zone. Oh, we can't go into the mow zone. So I wrote to the park operations about that. Would you just please do 2 feet? Because that's where the sun is. Because I was told to put in the saplings further into the woods and they didn't get enough light and they're not doing very well. And they've also come in and cut very large branches. I've come and seen these, 10, 15 feet branches just lying all over the forest floor. So if they close the park, it'd be probably better off for the habitat. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
Right.
Just wanted to mention real quick, the signs that were developed with Susan for the litter bug, if anybody is interested in those, Susan certainly has a copy of them, but we would be more than happy to share and utilize those in other parks as well.
Thanks
If you
very
know
much.
locations, let me know.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Connie. Oh, you're muted.
Okay. Hi, I'm Connie Portavia. I'm president of the Friends of Emmett Barn Incorporated. We're a 501c3 that was formed in 2012 to save the last barn inside the Beltway, which we've been working on in Pimmitt Hills. It's a very small site. We generally use the land around it. The bottom of the barn is rented by McLean Sports Association, but they allow us to sometimes put our things in there before our events. We have 2 events in the fall. One of them is on October 4th, which is Friends of Pimmitt Barn, is doing a table at the Pimmitt Hills Day, where we will attract, I would suspect, a few thousand of the 1,500 homes in the neighborhood, the families they're in. And the other is our yearly organization, Boo at the Barn. So, and that's on the 25th this year of October, and we have wonderful costumes and parades and fun with the kids at that one. So that's what we're doing here.
Thank you, Connie.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, I think that hits all of our online folks. So we're going to wrap up. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the conversation. We really appreciate your support and partnership, and we look forward to going forward.
Just real quick, sorry, I just want to make a little bit of a pitch because you guys work with the staff and the sites more often. Please, 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 I know it sounds a little rogue because all of our staff are phenomenal at what they do, but you guys work with them all the time, and a lot of times we hear, turn left and I shouldn't turn right. I really don't like the grass, or we get a lot of people who complain about the animal smell, right? I don't understand why I went to Frying Pan Farm Park and there's I smell, right? We get a lot of that. So if you have a good interaction or things are happening, or you just want to, just please feel free to email us and just let me know about staff, or let us know about staff that are doing really great things. Please let us know the little things that you're doing. It's such a joy to be able to put that out. In general, it might seem small, but it's really great to just see those little wins and the little things that we're doing and have these good news stories all the time that we're there. So just feel free, me, Amy, or Sarah, or Laura, or Kim, or whatever it is. But you guys work with a lot of our staff more than anybody else. So we just love to hear sort of your interactions and stuff. So that's my little.
Just send it to Park Mail.
Send it to Park Mail, send it to me, send it to whatever email that you have. Just, sometimes it's hard because, you send it to staff and they're like, I don't want to forward that. It's about me, right? So feel free to jump Park Mail, or most of you guys have our email. It's really easy. Mine is on the top of, I think, every single park page. All 4 park pages, so I'm pretty easy to find. So feel free to just shoot me. I always love to hear good news and good stuff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Meeting you.
Just walking forward.